Welcome Box Elder County. I'm Trudy Smith.
I'm Emily Smith.
We're here today to teach you some stuff about getting your calf ready for the Box Elder County Fair. We're going to go over a few basic early on steps that we need to work on prior to getting to the fair, and then we're going to work on a few things that we can do to maybe make your calf look a little bit better as we get to show day and then actual show day prep. Okay, so before we get into fitting this calf, I want to talk about a few products. Is there one product that I like more than another? No. For me, it kind of depends, like we just talked about earlier, in the hair of the calf. Some products work better on some calves better than another. So in our tack box, we seem to have a little bit of everything. But some basics that we want to make sure that we have is a good shampoo. We like this just because it's a lot of bang for our buck, but we also are not against using dish soaps as long as you realize that with the dish soap, it's going to take conditioning and moisture out of that calf's skin, so we need to make sure that we're putting it right back in if we're using a dish soap of some sort. Then we're going to get into conditioners. There's all kinds of conditioners out there that you can use. We like Revive from Sullivan's. We like Pro Charge from Weaver. Anything as long as you're getting that condition back into that hair so that that calf can shine. There's products out there that will help a calf that maybe has less hair on it that we can use to help enhance the growth. Sullivan's has it, Weaver has it, Pro Hair is one that we use a lot of. It takes washing the calf, you put it in while it's damp, you let it set for a little while, and then you blow it back in, and it's just a lot of hard work working that hair, but it'll come in. Other products that you need to think about having is your adhesives. You have your medium adhesives and your strong adhesives. Basically, we use the strong adhesives for our tails. The medium adhesives we use everywhere else so that if we make a mistake, it's a little bit more forgiving and we can comb through it and start over. Oils that we like to use for show day spray, Sullivan's Flare or Weaver's Pro Peak. They're pretty much equal. It just depends on whether your calf has lighter hair or a thicker hair. Flare's a little, it's not quite as oily as maybe the Weaver. And then we blow that in and give that calf a shine right before we go into the ring. With your steers, after you use adhesive, something like Hocus Pocus or an adhesive remover is a must so that you can get all of those adhesives out of that calf's leg and out of his tail and make sure that he's clean and ready for the next step. We don't want to leave any of that in his hair before he goes to the processors. Depending on the color of your calf, Weaver and Sullivan, they all have the different colors. This one is the fawn color. This is the smoky gray. They get into rust. They get into the cream color. So as you're fitting legs and you need to cover up blemishes and stuff, you have those products available to you. There's all kinds of blacks out there. You have your base black, you have your finishing blacks. One of my favorite products that we're going to talk about a little bit is the Pro Enhancer, and I'll kind of show you what that does in a few minutes. And then a white powder that helps me with how we clip, and again we'll use that here when we get ready to go. Make sure with your clippers that you always have an oil to keep your clippers lubricated and ready to clip. Combs that we use, there's all kinds of combs out there on the market. When I clip a calf, we'll use maybe more of the metal combs, but when you're going into the show ring, you want to make sure that you have a plastic comb, and you want to always make sure that this comb is facing your back so that if it touches another calf or it touches your calf, that calf's not getting poked by that. Some of our favorite grooming products that we use are these round brushes. They just kind of help get the calf's hair pulled up and out of where we need it. When we're training leg hair, this brush is a rotor brush and it attaches to the drill and it can roll up and down the calf's leg and get that hair to pop out where we need it to. Okay, so one of the places that I love to start first on show day is this tail. I like to just get that just with some adhesive in it and get it out of the way and clipped, and then I can move on to his legs and then finish at his head. So we like to take the strong tail adhesive, and we're gonna spray it in, and then we're gonna take our 2 combs and comb it together. Then we're gonna take the back of it and get it to fan out. And if I need to go back in and spray it one more time, I can. Because remember, we talked about this tail head being an extension to the body length of this calf. So we're gonna use that, and we'll clip it here in a few minutes. Another place that we're gonna use strong adhesive is the ball of his tail. A lot of the times you think that the ball of the tail is just maybe something that we just do right for the show day. Something we need to think about with the ball of the tail is we talked about maybe things that we're looking at this calf that we'd like to change. Is this calf maybe not as thick down through here as I'd like to make him, maybe make him a little wider. There's some things that physically we can't change about this calf, but we can look at the ball of this tail and know where we need to maybe bring it up. Do we want to leave it long to fill in down in here? Usually we'll look where he comes into a V right here where he connects, and we'll look through here and see where we need to make the adjustment to the ball of that tail. For time today, we're not gonna ball this tail up, but you can see this calf kind of has he's kind of fun with the ball of his tail because it just kind of naturally lays. But when I clip it, I might come down and we'll just kind of ball it up as we clip it in there, and it'll lay natural. And as far as then clipping the tail head, we will go into the white powder. I don't know where Josh. And we'll just kind of tip the hair where we want it to lay. And then I know where I need to clip as I look at the side of that calf. So as I come up, I know that I want to extend him through here and come to a point just about right there. So I'm going to come up the tail and take off those hairs there. Then I'm going to come along the top. Like I said, make that kind of an extension to his body. Then it's going to leave a white powder on top. And we'll just kind of bring in our black powders and blend that in. And then he's ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to move to the back leg. A lot of this comes in training the hair earlier on and getting that hair where we want it to be. This calf kind of his leg hair doesn't want to pop quite like we want it to, and there's products that we have that I don't have with us today that we can put into that hair that'll make it stand on its end and make it pop out. But what Emily's going to do is she's going to start and pull that hair up on that leg from the toe up, and then she's going to start putting in medium adhesive a little bit at a time and get that leg hair to come up. And it'll come forward in the front and it will fan out in the back as the look that we want it to have. And it's trying to get it to look as fine as we can possibly get it and not have hair sticking together. We like this little lamb brush because it seems to pull out the hair, the teeny tiny little hairs that maybe usually wouldn't come up and out. Okay, now we've worked his leg hair around how we want it, and we've worked it up into his hock a little bit. A couple more products that we like to use is the Pro Enhancer, especially if you have a calf that maybe you need to make him look like he has a little bit more hair in there. This will just kind of build the hair as you spray it in there. It just makes him look like his hair's a little bit thicker through there. You can kind of see that change already. And then we will go with our white powder. Again, we're just kind of building on the leg hair that we pulled up. And that white powder is basically what it's going to do is help me see where I need to clip this leg. We also want to think about the highs and the lows as we get into his rear and his front leg. And we want to be able to blend this leg and bring out muscle definition wherever we can. So we're gonna, with this white powder that we have in here, you can see where we have our highs here and our highs here. We want to try to blend the two of those. And this is why we want to work these calves early, as soon as we get these calves, so that these calves are used to us being around their legs. These calves will have a muscle right in here. And we want to try to bring that muscle and flare from here about up. So we're going to just try to blend that all in as much as we can. So now we've got to this point on his back leg that we want to cover that white up. We don't want any of that white showing on there. So there's a couple products that we're going to use. One is going to be a base black, and it's going to be kind of a flat black paint. So Emily's going to spray that in. And what that's going to do is give us the first cover. Sometimes we don't think about it until Mom and Dad have taken a picture, and then we look in the show ring and we're like, I thought I painted that leg, but it's still showing up white out in a picture. So we need to make sure that we get that covered. And then she'll come in, and ideally we'd like to let these dry in between coats, but for time's sake, we're just going to go ahead and paint that on. Your finishing black is going to be a little bit more of a shine to it. And we want these cattle's legs to look as natural as we can possibly get them. So this calf has hair to his leg, and all we did was pull it out and accentuate what he already has there. And you can do that same thing with the calf that maybe doesn't have as much hair into his legs by using these products that will help you get more hair on show day. Okay, so essentially for the front leg, it's the same steps. We're just gonna clip this leg a little bit different. On these calves, we want to be able to make it look like these calves are as flexible through the front end here as we can possibly get them. The way I always like to explain it is you want this leg to look like the back of a banana. So he's going to kind of flex in. Like right now, he looks like he has a huge, ugly knee, right? And then he's going to be high down in here. This calf's also going to have a high point here and here. And I want all of that to blend in together. When we get these calves where we want them and they're smooth blended everywhere we can, for time's sake, this calf isn't going to look as smooth everywhere as we would like him to be on show day. We're just trying to get the basics for you to think about. But we've come in, we've done the same steps, we've blended, and same thing, we're just gonna finish off with our black base. And finish with our black finisher. And like I said, it doesn't matter which product you want to use. It's whatever product works best for you. So as we clip these calves, there's a couple blades that we want to talk about. If you're a beginner or you're handing this over to your kids, you want to always give them the medium blending blade versus my favorite blade is the super blocking blade. Things that I'll use the medium blending blade on would be the back of the tail where we don't want a real close shave, down his neck, on his face. That's what we'll use the medium blending blade on, but it'll also work on full body. It's a little less forgiving than the super blocking blade. The thing is with them, I don't know, Josh, is where the teeth hit on these blades. On the medium blending blade, there's going to be a little bit of a space. And on the super blocking blade, it's going to come right out to the tip. So what the super blocking blade is going to do for me is be able to just tip this hair rather than going very deep. It just kind of helps me get that hair where I want it to go. So we kind of talked about it earlier. We have our highs, we have our lows, and on this calf, we're a little bit high right here through the shoulder, and then he's going to be high in the crest of his neck. He's going to be high in his poll, and he's going to be high at this bone right in here, and he's going to be high in his tail head. So we want to look at that calf, and we want to try to get that top line as level as we can. And for time's sake, I've kind of already clipped into that. The poll on his head, we're going to blend in a little bit more as it gets closer. The ears, we don't want to shave anything out of the top of his ears there, but we're going to just kind of blend in along there. And we're going to come into his poll if he'll be good and not mess it up. Like I said, we're going to use that as an extension to his body. We always try to leave the heads till last, because this is the place where these calves are going to get ticked at us, and they're going to be unforgiving, and that's going to be the end of your clipping time. And sometimes the poll becomes something some use it as a fashion statement. It just kind of ends up being how you want it to look. But we want that point to blend in all the way back to the point of his tail. And then we're just going to tip in here and smooth out as much of this as we can, knowing that I've got to leave as much hair in his middle where he kind of has this dish as we can. Okay, so there's a couple different things that we can use on the faces of these calves. We always want to try to use the halter line as our stopping and starting point on the face of this calf. The blade that I use for this is the medium blending blade. You can also get into some of your bigger like sheep shears, maybe a fine blade on them. Not a surgical is going to get it too close. This medium blending blade, you might want to do it a couple days out. It's going to leave some lines in there, so you want to allow a little bit of time for those lines to blend in and grow back in. So that kind of gives you the just. So as we get into the neck and the brisket of this calf, we want this calf to have a good, clean look. When the judge is coming and looking at you, your arm can be in the wrong place and it can cover up the looks of this calf. We want to make sure that with the medium blending blade, we come up on both sides of the neck and the dewlap side right there. But then we always come drag back down and clean up down underneath his chest floor here, so we want him to look clean there. We want to try to make sure he looks as wide in there as we can get him. So we will back drag with the medium blending blade and pull it all the way back on through. Clean up the insides. Of his leg. And again, then you just get into blending back into his chest and into that shoulder blade. And pulling that out, that will help accentuate and make that look wider and blend up into his neck.